Hello and welcome to the NBA DFS show presented by LionStar for Wednesday, March 12th. We're back. We're going to be breaking it down. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann, at FlatTyler83 on your DFS sites and Twitter. Now come join us at LionStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all for one low price. Now, let's dive in. Let's check it out. Let's see what we got here. We got a 7-game slate on Draftkings, 9 on FanDuel. FanDuel has the 2 late games, which on FanDuel I like quite a bit. So it's going to be an interesting slate. Let's jump into it position by position, starting on the point guard. 34% owned, Jamal Sheed, 4,500. 6.2x value. He is going to be super high owned, but it's with good reason. It's versus the terrible tanking 76ers. We have 2 very bad teams matching up together. There is no RJ Barrett, no Quickly, which headline the guys out for Toronto. They have a slew of people out. But getting the spot start, Jamal Sheed's in an interesting spot. I'm definitely going to have some of them in his starts. He's averaging 29.6 minutes and 26.75 fantasy points per start. His last start versus Washington worked out pretty well, got 33. Start before that, played 30 minutes and got 21. But it was versus a much tougher Memphis team in a blowout. I'm fine getting some Sheed. I'm going to eat some chalk. I'm going to have quite a bit of them. Next, we got Ja Morant, 8,700, 24% owned. Ja's been playing super well. 3 straight perfect lineups. Now he's in a great spot versus the Jazz. There's no Jaren Jackson, no Santi Aldama. And with that, really the scoring comes down to Morant and Bane. One of them has to get it going for them to stay in a game, even versus a bad team. And I think Ja Morant and Desmond Bane are in great spots today. I'm definitely going to have some of them. Next, we got James Harden, 9,600, 17% owned. There's no Kawhi Leonard. He's been playing super well, and without Leonard, that ceiling is back into the 60s, mid-60s, high 60s, and it's in a decent spot versus the Heat. I'm going to have some James Harden for sure. I think 17% owned is a little low. Next, we got Miles McBride, 5,700, 17% owned versus the Trailblazers. No Jalen Brunson still. Biggest boosts on the team go to McBride because of minutes, and Cat just gets a giant boost. OG Anunoby, Hart, Bridges, all of them get little boosts, but McBride just has a huge minutes boost. In his starts, he's averaging 36 minutes a game. Now, Trailblazers have been very tough versus the point guard, so I don't love hammering Miles McBride, but I'm going to have some of him for sure. His ceiling when he's starting is just too high, but his floor is low. He gave us 20 versus the Clippers, then went for 41. Versus Chicago earlier, he went for 53. There's big-time volatility, but the ceiling is just too high for me not to have some McBride in this matchup. Next pivot, Russell Westbrook, 6,300. Right now, it's expected that he starts. Aaron Gordon is doubtful. We're not totally sure who starts. But if Westbrook's starting, I'm going to have some of him. He has just too high of a ceiling as a starter. Likely plays, mid-30s in minutes, in a close game, in a late game. I really like the spot. Don't mind sprinkling in some Westbrook. Now, point guard on DraftKings, we have high-owned James Harden. We talked about him. 10.2K over here. I'm still fine getting him, but I would much rather SGA at 1K more. Same ownership, but just a huge ceiling with no Jalen Williams. Big thing here, he goes from 45 points per 100 real scoring points up to 54.5 or 4. So, 54.3. So it's just a huge boost to his scoring in a spot where we could see his max minutes. I don't mind getting some SGA. He's super interesting to me today. Jamal Sheed we covered, and let's move it on over to shooting guard on FanDuel. Desmond Bane, 25% owned, 8,500. I'm going to get to some Bane versus Utah. He's playing big time minutes, and he will likely have to do that again in this spot. And it's versus poor Utah Jazz team. I'm fine getting some if the Memphis Grizzlies are to blow out the Jazz, which it's projected 11.5. It's likely due to Bane or Morant going nuts. Now, without Jaren Jackson Jr. and without Santi Aldama, the Grizzlies could struggle a little bit inside, allowing the Jazz to stay in this game. So I think it is interesting, even in a blowout scenario, having some of these Memphis guys. Dylan Brooks, 4,900. There's Noah Men Thompson, obviously. And then Fred VanVleet is going to be back in. I don't mind sprinkling in some Brooks, but I think 4,900 at high ownership is kind of tough to swallow. He's just not a very consistent guy, and his usage should go down with Fred VanVleet back in the lineup. AJ Lawson, 4,700, went absolutely nuts last game. Should enter the starting lineup without AJ Barrett and Quickly. I'm fine sprinkling in some Lawson. I mean, this game is going to be really hard to project what's going on. I'm going to be looking for any news I can to decipher where minutes go. But right now, AJ Lawson looks likely to get those minutes. Pivot-wise, McBride, we talked about. Mikal Bridges, 6,400, 5% owned. He is just going too low owned without Brunson. Without Brunson, he hasn't had one of those ceiling games, but he is a guy that is able to, just go nuts and hit that 50 at 6,400. Super interesting, and I think his floor without Brunson is, mid-30s, playing just giant minutes in a decent spot. I like Bridges. And then Karis LeVert, 5,700. He's questionable, so we're not totally sure if he plays, but if he does, I'm super interested in LeVert. 33 minutes, 27, 29, 32. He's playing big-time minutes in a nice spot versus the Charlotte Hornets with the 240 total. I'm very interested in LeVert if he plays. If he does not, Terrence Mann or George Niang coming off the bench likely pick up minutes and become very interesting as well. On to shooting guard on DraftKings. Vince Williams, 3,800, 33% owned. He likely is back today and probably plays 24, 25 minutes in a good matchup. At 3,800, I don't mind him. But we have a 7-game slate on DraftKings, and there's plenty of value, and I don't think Vince Williams has much upside playing the limited minutes, and that is my worry. I think there's plenty of value that have more upside than Vince Williams. AJ Lawson, 4K, he has more upside than Vince. Bogdanovich, 4,800, 21% owned. He could start. If he does, he's probably going to play big-time minutes without Kawhi Leonard, without Powell. He's asked to chuck the ball up. So a little bit interesting in a start, but I wouldn't be touching him if he's not starting. And small forward on FanDuel. We got Josh Hart, 28% owned. Desmond Bane, 25% owned. And Terry Eason, 25% owned. Josh Hart, 8K. I don't mind going some Josh Hart. His ceiling, he's at like 1.07 fantasy point per minute without Brunson this season. So obviously there is a ceiling there. I think it is a little bit of a tough matchup for him, but I don't mind sprinkling in some Josh Hart in this one. He does have a big ceiling, and I mean, he can triple-double with the best of them. So I don't mind sprinkling in some Hart. It isn't one of my higher-owned spots at this point. I do think he's going over-owned, but I don't mind if he's in my lineups. Desmond Bane, 8,500, 25% we covered. Terry Eason, 6,400. He should start again. He's had 2 down games, but the ceiling is there, and it's a good spot versus the Suns, so I don't mind going into some Eason. Pivot-wise, OG Anunoby, 7,100. I believe that he gets the bigger bump up than anybody outside of Cat as far as a fantasy points per minute standpoint. He's at over 1 fantasy point per minute without Brunson on the court. He's at 0.83 over the last 20. So I like going to OG in this spot. He should get his, opportunities from deep and If those are falling, then he has a real big ceiling. So I don't mind some OG. Michael Porter Jr., 6,500. No Aaron Gordon. He slides over to the power forward spot likely with Westbrook at the guard spot. I think MPJ starts to look super interesting and in a good matchup for power forward. I like MPJ. I'm probably getting too much of him right now. I'm going to have to roll back a little bit, but I think he's fairly priced with a giant ceiling. The last time we saw no Aaron Gordon with Westbrook in the starting lineup, he had some real good games. And last game, shot the ball 12 times. If that goes up to 15, plus, he's looking at 40-point games. So very interested in Porter in this spot. Small forward on DK, Williams, Bogdanovich, and Vassell. Vassell 6,100 is a very interesting spot for me. I do prefer the guards, point guard, preferably in this matchup versus Dallas. However, Vassell has a huge ceiling, and we've seen it, and 6,100 is fair. The guy has been right around 30 or low 30s literally all season long, with a couple just blow-up games with a 70-point game and whatnot, so fine going there. Power forward on FanDuel, Josh Hart, Okongwu, and Eason. Okongwu, 7,500, 25% owned. I very much like him. There's no Clint Capella. It's a good matchup versus the Hornets. I think the thing with his with no Capella, it just gives him more minutes. He goes from probably 30 to 32 to possibly getting up to 34 in a good matchup. So I'm very interested in him. I'm actually getting less of him than I thought I would be right now. He's 25% owned. Right now, I'm coming just a little under that. I would expect throughout the day, maybe I get a little bit more of him. Pivot-wise, so Zach Edey and Brandon Clark are both questionable again. If Edey is out, I think Clark is super interesting. Even if Edey is in, I think there's a path to Clark doing fairly well. He is a high fantasy point per minute guy, and they're hurting down low, so I think they're going to have to rely on him a little bit. If he is out and Edey is in, then I think Edey is a little bit more interesting with a little more higher minutes than normal, which would make him look super nice. OG Anunoby, 7,100. 7,400, John Collins. Guy went absolutely nuts last game. Played 34 minutes versus Boston. Now he gets Memphis. Lauri Markkanen's questionable. And if Markkanen's out, it looks real nice for John Collins. Definitely have some interest for him. 7,400 is getting up there, but he has the ceiling to still go there. Michael Porter Jr. we covered, and Bol, 4,800. All right, Bol still probably going to start. He's been playing very limited minutes the last 4 games. The reason I am a little interested in him is that Nick Richards is doubtful. I would expect Mason Plumlee to slide into the starting center spot, Bol to still play power forward, but I think that without Richards, that Bol could see some center action and could see his minutes come back up again. So I am interested in Bol just because possible extra minutes. With that being said, I am not trying to play Plumlee and Bol together. I don't think they get there together. I don't think both of them see big minutes. I think it's one or the other sees big minutes, and both are a little bit interesting. I'll be sprinkling in both of them. Power forward on DraftKings, Brooks, John Collins, Terry Eason. We covered them. Let's get to center. And Okongwu, Alperen Sengun, 8,800, 18% owned. I think he's in an interesting spot. Defensive-wise, I do think Plumlee is an upgrade, so I may scale back a little bit of what I have here on Sengun, but I am interested. 8,800, he can give us a 50-burger. And his minutes have been more secure lately. He's been playing some 35, 36, 38-minute games, and that gives him, really like a 60-point ceiling instead of just kind of 50s. So very interested in having some Sengun. Brandon Clark, we covered. Cat, 9,800. He's at 1.56 fantasy points per minute without Brunson on the court. He had 43 in 28 minutes. Blazers have been playing some good basketball and could very well stay in this game or win this game, and with that, it means Cat probably plays some big time minutes. If he gets up to 35, 36 minutes, I think he's in line for a real solid game, and I don't mind getting some. Mason Plumlee, 4,400, likely starts. I don't think he's going to see a big time minute boost, but I can see him get to 26, 27 minutes, something like that. And at 4,400, he could definitely hit 30, so it's interesting. John Collins we covered, and Bol we covered. So center on DraftKings. We got Mason Plumlee, 3,400. That's just too cheap. You got utility also. Plumlee's going to be super high owned, but it makes a ton of sense. There's safety, there's ceiling. Why not? John Collins we covered at 6,600. Okongwu at 7,100. That'll do it for us today, guys. Hope you guys have a great night. Let's win some money. We'll be back tomorrow for more. Have a good one. Peace.